everybody, it is Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome. Welcome back to another video over here on That's Comical, and if you happen to be watching on a Wednesday, happy new comic book day. The first thing I have to do is I have to give you guys an apology, because I know that my stats, trends, and picks video today for November 2022 is late. Yes, I know it's late. There has been so much going on. I mean, beside the fact that November of 2022 was a 5-week new comic book month, I will still say that as exciting as it was, it has truly been a month. There has been so much going on over here, whether it's in the comic book world or whether it's just life in general. I just started a new position over at my job. We had Thanksgiving and so many other things in between, of course, handling the baby, my wife and I, and planning for the holiday season, of course. But the other issue was, in regards to all the comics that I was excited to get this month of November, there were a lot of mishaps. My local store had some really weird things take place in which some of the comics didn't get to us for about 2 weeks. There were certain books that they ran out of that I had to wait for in order to get a copy. There were certain books that got pushed back. It was just a mess. It was still a great month nonetheless. And if you take a look at the numbers, we definitely are seeing some really interesting things here, as well as the fact that we've just got one more month left in 2022. So I'm really curious to see where this is going, but take a look at the numbers for November, everybody, and you will see where things are trending for me. Take a look at Marvel and DC Comics. I never would have expected to see such a distance between these two. And mind you, when I started doing these videos, Marvel was the one that I was spending the most money on. But there has been so much negative when it comes to Marvel Comics, just for me at least. I dumped so many titles. I just found out that 2 of my current titles that I'm reading, Hulk and Thor, I may stop reading those very soon because Donny Cates left both of the books and I have no idea what's going to happen to those titles. I have no interest in anything that's coming out in regards to anything ongoing. Whenever there are miniseries, if Peter David is not attached to it, if I don't know the writer, I'm not interested in it. Same thing with one-shots. Marvel has just become so sour in my eyes, and I just have no intentions to really pick up the speed in regards to getting anything new from Marvel Comics. DC, on the other hand, let me just say that they are very fortunate as to what they've done over the past couple of months with the Infinite Frontier saga, leading now into the Dark Crisis. Also because of the fact that they've had some really great mini and maxi series, but I'm just telling you guys, DC shouldn't get too comfortable, because of the fact that once DC's Dark Crisis saga is officially done, you are definitely going to see a dive in DC Comics. But it's not just Marvel and DC. The indie circuit really took a big hit too, as well as Image. I guess I'm just starting to not find any interest in regards to anything new that's coming out, or more so, it's got to be a really great artist or a really great writer that really grabs my fancy. But I think it's also because of the fact that I'm just trying to be a little bit more conservative with my purchasing. Now that I have gotten back into comics, I know what I like and I know what I really don't like, and I know what gambles not to take. And then, of course, when we take a look at the percentages, this is even more crazy. Almost 50% of my purchasing for November of 2022 was from DC Comics. That is absolutely insane. And even the independent conglomerate of Boom Studios, Scout Comics, what have you, even they were close to Marvel themselves. And then when we take a look at the chart, that's just a crazy thing. I don't think that I ever would have expected to see the charts looking like this, because I really thought that after Future State, I wasn't going to read any DC Comics. But wouldn't you know, things happened. They just knew how to grab me. And you can even see, taking a look at Marvel, how much they have disappointed me and why they are really just in a nosedive at the moment. So that's basically the statistics. So how did we do in regards to the Lawn Gnome's predictions for this past month? Well, I will say it almost could have been a perfect month. if it wasn't for one simple mishap, we probably would have seen 4 out of 5 correct. Because at the end, one of them definitely was not what I predicted it to be, and it didn't win regardless. But because of the fact that I had this little mishap, I decided to bend the rules a little bit, and the one that actually did win for the last week of November 2022 in terms of my picks was a book that came out the week prior, just because of the fact that it was still November, still had the chance to read it, and that was that. So, the first 3 weeks of November, I predicted all correctly. The first week of November 2022, I gave it to DC Comics and the great Marc Silvestri's Batman, the Joker, the Deadly Duo. This is beautifully written, beautifully drawn. It's an action-packed story. I freaking love the first book. And it's a 7-issue miniseries from the Black Label. I am just so excited to see how this story is going to go. Even though I am not going to lie, while I've recorded this video, I did actually read the second book. So, the question is going to be, is it going to be in my predictions for December? And more importantly, I am not posting my top pick until I officially record this video. But Batman the Joker Deadly Duo, the first book, great story. In the second week of November, I gave it to the book that I anticipated, Geoff Johns' one-shot of The New Golden Age, which would eventually lead into 2 more stories that he is currently writing involving the JSA, which makes me very excited. This definitely was a bit of a confusing book at times because it is constantly time-jumping, but the story at the end is still very easy to follow, and I really liked this book. And I think it's just because of the fact that Geoff Johns knows exactly what he's doing. He loves these characters, and it only got me excited for the following week, which gave me his second entry to the DC library. Along with The New Golden Age, he gave us Stargirl and the Lost Children. It was my top pick to be predicted, and I said, yes, this is still the best book. I really had a great time because this goes all the way back to the beginning of Infinite Frontier and the Stargirl Spring Break special. This is the follow-up, 6 issues. So excited to see what Geoff Johns is going to do with his very own creation. So for the 4th week of November, I was hoping to give it to Vanish issue number 3 from Image Comics because I was loving it so much. But I didn't get this book until the first week of December. So I read it, and I will definitely say that it would have been my top book of that week, also just because of the fact that the 4th week of November, leading into Thanksgiving weekend, was unfortunately a very weak time for comic books. It was like the weakest of all of the new comic book weeks in November 2022. So I actually ended up giving it to a Dark Crisis tie-in, which was Dark Crisis, The Dark Army, and of course because of the fact that Mark Waid was writing it, I knew it was going to be better than most of the tie-ins, and I really did enjoy this Damian Wayne story. It was fun, it was easy to follow, it was action-packed, and it got me more excited to see how this story is going to conclude. Now, mind you, this is not the strongest story that DC has ever gave us, and considering what they've been doing, it definitely feels a little bit more on the meaningless side, but there are still some gems to be found within this story, and that's why I continued to read on. So, for the final week of November 2022, I was going to give it to Geoff Johns' 3rd book, which was The Justice Society of America #1, that's another DC comic, and it apparently is not an ongoing series. I've heard that this is a 12-issue maxi series, which kind of sucks, but I would always still say that if you do love Geoff Johns, you just gotta go back and read his JSA run because it is amazing. So, seeing a brand new Justice Society of America run got me really excited. This was not the best book. It was a little bit weird, and just like the New Golden Age, it had a lot of time jumps. So I'm curious to see where this story is gonna go. So, let's just say it still kept me excited. But the book that I gave the top pick to was a book that was supposed to come out the week before. My comic book store didn't have it, and I got it the following week, and it was Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham's Miracle Man, The Silver Age, #2, over at Marvel Comics. I am loving this book. This take on superheroes is so interesting to me and so different. it only made me want to learn more about this character because I love the story behind this comic book series. And this is only going to be 6 issues, because that was the intent of Neil Gaiman when he was originally supposed to be writing this in the mid-90s. And the only thing that I'm hoping for is that, along with concluding the Silver Age, is he going to actually be able to do the 6 issues of the Dark Age and complete his 3-arc story completely. This is the remastered version of his original piece that was written back in 1993 over at Eclipse Comics before they went bankrupt and had to cancel the book. So this book has been made before. I'm just very excited because next month, for December, is going to be a whole new story that the readers have never seen before. But I went out and I got myself the Golden Age, so I'm really excited to read that, and I'm seriously considering picking up Alan Moore's run because this was the guy that was writing it before he gave it to Neil Gaiman over at Eclipse. So, the Miracle Man Silver Age book, really, really good. It's so different and dark, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Also, before we continue on to my December predictions, I want to also give a shout out to Marvel Comics with a really interesting book called Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise, which is written and drawn by Tradd Moore. If you know who he is most well known recently for his artwork on Donny Cates' Silver Surfer Black. This is a standalone 4-issue miniseries that is coming out. It is so weird, it is so trippy, and that's the only reason why I wanted to take a look at this book, especially because so many people are saying who read it was really, really good. So, this also came out on the last week of November for me when it was supposed to come out the previous week. So I finally got around to reading it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it's a bit confusing, I'm not going to lie, but I'm definitely here for the rest of this miniseries just so I can see more of Tradd Moore's incredible artwork. So, here we are, guys. The last month of 2022 is here, because this is being filmed in December. It is going to be a very interesting month, and I'm also really excited because the last week of December is going to be a massive new comic book day for me. Also a little bit sad, and we'll get into why, but let's see what my predictions are. So for the first week of December 2022, I'm giving it, once again, to DC Comics, and I'm giving it to Batman, the Joker, the Deadly Duo, #2, once again, written and drawn by Marc Silvestri. Now, I'm also just going to go out there and say, yes, I've read it. It's great. I've read it literally right before I pressed record. But I'm not going to say whether this is my best book of the first week of December. You are just going to have to wait and see over on Twitter. For the second week of December, I am giving it to a book that I have been so excited for, and I just had to feature both of these covers. It is the long-awaited DC Comics special one-shot Batman Spawn, written by Todd McFarlane and drawn by Greg Capullo. The dynamic duo of Image is back, and I am just so excited to read this one-shot. I even went back and read the other 2 one-shots just to get ready for this, and I'm just hoping that they don't disappoint. I mean, Todd McFarlane never wrote one of the older Batman Spawn crossovers. He drew the Image one that was written by Frank Miller, but this is going to be the first time that Todd McFarlane actually writes the Batman Spawn crossover story, so I'm really hoping that it's good. For the third week of December, I am giving it to Vanish issue #4. Like I said, if issue #3 didn't come so late, it would have definitely been my best pick for the 4th week of November. It really is such a great book. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman are just gangbusters here. I mean, at this point in time, I've completely forgot that they both do crossover at this point. Still waiting for that last story arc, but Vanish is definitely holding steady. I am so excited to see how this first story arc ends, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to love it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be excited for issue #5. So then we get to the last week of 2022, the last week of December. There's so much amazing stuff hitting the shelves, and even though these are not going to most likely be my top picks for the week, I just want to shout them all out, along with the fact that we are celebrating the 1050th issue of Action Comics, which is coming out that week, and I'm really excited for Tradd Moore's Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise issue #2, We are also getting an amazing end of a 4th story arc for King Spawn with issue number 18 over at Image Comics, as well as the penultimate issue for Stillwater. But we are going to be getting the concluding issues of Boom Studios' We Only Find Them When They're Dead. That's issue number 15 from Al Ewing. And we're also getting the final book of The Nice House on the Lake over at DC Black Label from James Tynion IV. Both of those stories were great. It's going to be really sad to see them go. It's going to be really sad to see Stillwater go over at Image Comics in January. I mean, Chip Zdarsky, that was the first book I ever read of his, and I was just in love with that story. But they're all great books, but not the best pick of the week. I am giving it, of course, to Marvel Comics' Miracle Man, The Silver Age, number 3, from Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham. This is going to be the continuation of the story that Neil Gaiman tried to write almost 30 years ago. It has been a while. The fans have been very excited for the fact that it's finally happening. I mean, would it be really funny if something crazy actually happened to prevent this from actually finally showing up? Yeah, it would just make everybody laugh, but it would make a lot of people angry too. But considering what Miracle Man is, and considering all the research that I've done ever since I picked up issue number 0 in anticipation for Neil Gaiman's return on this character, it's just gotten me all the more excited to see how the Silver Age is going to conclude. And like I said, I really hope we are going to get the Dark Age after that, so Neil Gaiman can finally finish his Miracle Man project. So everybody, that's going to conclude another episode of Stats, Trends, and Picks over here on That's Comical. Please leave your comments in the box below. Let me know what some of your favorite books from November 22 were, and what some of your exciting and more anticipated books for December are. And until then, I will see you in the next one.